Every human being, without exception, encounters pain. It may arrive unexpectedly, sometimes subtly, other times with such intensity that it shakes the very foundations of our existence. Yet, this is the universal truth: pain is not the enemy. The real challenge is in how we choose to respond. There are those who allow pain to cripple them, to sap their courage, to dim their vision. And there are those who rise above it, who take the very essence of their suffering and convert it into a powerful force that drives achievement, growth, and lasting fulfillment. Pain is a teacher, though its lessons are often harsh. Each failure, each rejection, each disappointment carries with it a kernel of wisdom. The mind that is trained to seek and extract these lessons is the mind that discovers opportunity where others see only despair. It is not enough to endure pain passively. One must study it, understand it, and then channel it with purpose. This is the first step in transforming weakness into strength. Our thoughts are the architects of our destiny. When pain comes, it triggers a torrent of emotions: anger, sadness, fear. Left unchecked, these emotions can imprison the spirit. But with disciplined thought, one can redirect that energy. Consider every painful experience not as a burden but as fuel. Let it ignite a determination that refuses to be broken. Let it sharpen your focus, illuminate your goals, and compel you to take action. Power is born not from comfort, but from the decision to rise above discomfort with a clear mind and a relentless heart. Resilience is not a trait bestowed upon a chosen few. It is developed, earned, and strengthened through repeated confrontation with adversity. Each challenge faced, each setback overcome, fortifies the character and builds an inner strength that becomes unshakable. When you emerge from suffering stronger, wiser, and more determined, you have taken pain and turned it into a resource far greater than mere comfort ever could provide. Purpose is the bridge between pain and power. Without direction, suffering may lead to bitterness. With purpose, suffering becomes fuel. Every hardship can be aligned with a goal. Every wound can remind us of what is worth fighting for. Those who find meaning in their struggle do not merely survive, they excel. They channel their experiences into actions that are intentional, productive, and transformative. Pain, when connected to purpose, becomes a guiding force rather than a hindrance. Finally, remember that the energy of suffering is not to be wasted. It can be transformed into creativity, into courage, into ambition. It can push you to reach higher, work harder, and inspire others. What seems like a limitation today can become the very thing that propels you toward your most extraordinary achievements tomorrow. Every scar, every moment of struggle carries within it the power to elevate you. If only you are willing to seize it, understand it, and convert it into relentless momentum. The choice is yours to allow pain to diminish you, or to embrace it and extract from it a source of unparalleled strength. Do not waste your suffering. Let it teach, guide, and empower you. Transform your pain into power, and in doing so, create a life of triumph, resilience, and enduring success. Pain is an inescapable part of life, a universal experience that touches every individual at some point. It is often viewed as a burden, an obstacle to happiness or progress, yet this perception overlooks its true potential. Pain is not merely a passive force that happens to us. It is a catalyst for transformation when understood and approached with the right mindset. The first step in converting pain into power lies in the recognition that suffering is inevitable. No person, regardless of status, wealth, or intelligence, can entirely avoid moments of loss, disappointment, or hardship. Life is structured in such a way that challenges are not exceptions but constants, woven into the very fabric of human existence. Accepting this reality does not mean surrendering to despair. Rather, it allows a person to approach adversity with clarity, readiness, and intention. Pain, when acknowledged rather than denied, provides a mirror reflecting the areas of our life that require attention, growth, and change. Experiencing pain forces individuals to confront their limitations and vulnerabilities. When these moments arise, they create a space for self-reflection and introspection. In the quiet of struggle, one begins to understand the contours of personal weakness and the patterns that have previously led to failure. This understanding is crucial because awareness precedes growth. Many people spend their lives avoiding discomfort, seeking to escape challenges or suppress feelings of hurt. While avoidance may provide temporary relief, it ultimately prevents development. By contrast, facing pain directly equips a person with insights that cannot be gained through comfort alone. It is in these moments of confrontation with suffering that character is molded, perseverance is nurtured, and resilience is built. The individual who learns to observe their pain, analyze its source, and extract lessons from it, begins the process of turning an unavoidable experience into a powerful tool for self-improvement. Pain also sharpens the mind and clarifies priorities. When life delivers setbacks, it forces an individual to evaluate what truly matters. Distractions fade, superficial concerns lose significance, and a sense of urgency emerges. This focus is a form of mental discipline that is cultivated only through experience of adversity. Moreover, pain has the power to strengthen determination. When one is pushed to the limits of endurance, a choice arises to yield to circumstances or to summon the inner resources necessary to persevere. Choosing to confront difficulty with intention and persistence develops a mindset that thrives in the face of challenges rather than crumbling under them over time. These repeated exercises in endurance and mental fortitude convert what once seemed debilitating into an enduring source of motivation. An often overlooked aspect of pain is its capacity to enhance empathy and deepen interpersonal understanding. Individuals who have suffered are uniquely positioned to recognize and relate to the struggles of others. This empathetic insight not only improves relationships, but also enhances leadership and influence. Pain transforms personal experience into a reservoir of wisdom, allowing the individual to connect with others in meaningful and impactful ways. The recognition that everyone carries unseen struggles fosters humility and encourages a broader perspective, further enhancing the ability to turn personal hardship into strength. Finally, it is essential to recognize that pain becomes power only when it is consciously harnessed. Passive endurance is insufficient. Reflection, learning, and intentional action are required. Those who allow pain to dictate their emotions or define their identity risk being trapped by it. Conversely, those who actively seek the opportunities within adversity cultivate resilience, sharpen mental clarity, and develop a deep sense of purpose. Each moment of suffering contains potential energy, waiting to be transformed into action, insight, or creative output. By embracing this principle, an individual begins to understand that no experience is wasted, and that the very obstacles that challenge them can also propel them toward achievement. Pain, therefore, is not the enemy of progress, it is the foundation upon which power is built. It demands engagement, reflection, and action. When approached with courage and insight, the difficulties of life cease to be mere trials and instead become essential ingredients in the cultivation of strength, character, and ultimately success. Through this lens, suffering is not an interruption to the journey. It is an essential driver of personal evolution and a necessary force for realizing one's highest potential. Every setback, every disappointment, and every failure carries within it a lesson waiting to be discovered. Life does not hand out hardships without purpose. Each difficult experience is layered with insight that, when understood, becomes a roadmap for growth and self-mastery. Often, people focus solely on the negative aspects of failure, the embarrassment, the pain, the loss, But this narrow perspective obscures the profound opportunity embedded within adversity. To recognize the value of these experiences, one must develop the habit of reflection and inquiry, asking not only why a particular hardship occurred, but what it can teach about character, choices, and strategy. The individual who engages with failure in this manner does not see themselves as a victim of circumstance, but as a student of life, constantly learning from the environment, from their actions, and from the outcomes that unfold. Each failure presents a unique set of insights, often more instructive than any success could provide. Success tends to affirm what we already know, while failure exposes gaps in knowledge, flaws in planning, or weaknesses in approach. By examining these gaps with honesty, one uncovers critical lessons that guide future decisions. Moreover, failure teaches humility and patience, revealing that mastery and achievement require sustained effort, adaptation, and resilience. Those who ignore or suppress the lessons of their setbacks are condemned to repeat them, but those who study them diligently gain a distinct advantage. They are able to anticipate challenges, adjust strategies, and avoid the pitfalls that ensnare others who have not learned from their own or others' mistakes. Painful experiences also sharpen judgment and deepen wisdom. When an individual endures a significant setback, they are forced to confront the consequences of choices made, the assumptions held, and the limits of their knowledge. This confrontation generates insight that is both practical and profound, allowing the individual to approach future challenges with greater clarity, discernment, and foresight. The lessons gained from hardship are internalized in a way that abstract instruction or theoretical knowledge never could be. They become a part of one's instinctive decision, making informing judgments in real time, and creating an intuitive understanding of risk, opportunity, and consequence. Another crucial aspect of learning from setbacks is the cultivation of persistence. Adversity tests commitment to goals and values, challenging the individual to rise again when previous efforts have fallen short. Persistence is not a passive endurance of difficulty, it is an active engagement, a refusal to be deterred by temporary obstacles, and a willingness to iterate, improve, and press forward. Those who embrace the lessons of failure cultivate resilience, because each attempt, even when unsuccessful, builds skill, knowledge, and confidence. The repeated process of striving, reflecting, and adjusting transforms adversity from a source of discouragement into a wellspring of empowerment. Additionally, setbacks foster creativity and innovation. When familiar methods fail, one is compelled to think differently, to devise new strategies, and to consider unconventional solutions. In this way, failure acts as a catalyst for ingenuity. Individuals who embrace this mindset understand that each failure is not an endpoint, but a signal to reevaluate, adapt, and explore alternatives. They view obstacles not as walls, but as challenges demanding resourcefulness, imagination, and strategic thinking. Through this lens, what initially seems like a defeat becomes a springboard for originality and advancement, driving the individual toward solutions that would otherwise remain undiscovered. Equally important is the development of emotional intelligence that comes from confronting adversity. Experiencing setbacks helps individuals manage frustration, disappointment, and fear, while simultaneously strengthening empathy and the capacity to inspire and lead others. When one has faced difficulties firsthand, they gain a deep understanding of the struggles that others encounter. This perspective enhances communication, leadership, and influence, allowing lessons learned personally to benefit not only oneself but also those who look for guidance, support, or mentorship. Failure, therefore, becomes both a teacher and a bridge, connecting personal growth with social impact. Ultimately, the ability to learn from setbacks transforms adversity into a powerful tool for self-mastery. Those who study their failures extract actionable insight, refine their approach, and cultivate resilience, creativity, and emotional intelligence. Rather than being derailed by misfortune, they leverage it as a guide, turning every challenge into an opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. Each experience, no matter how painful or discouraging, carries a message. Those who pay attention, adapt, and act on these lessons convert what could be debilitating into a foundation for extraordinary achievement, building a life guided by understanding, perseverance, and continual personal evolution. The mind is the most powerful instrument at a person's disposal, capable of transforming experiences of pain into remarkable sources of strength and achievement. It is through the mind that suffering is interpreted, processed, and ultimately converted into action. Pain, by its nature, is neutral. It is neither inherently destructive nor inherently empowering. Its effect on an individual depends entirely on the mental framework through which it is viewed. Those who allow negative experiences to dominate their thoughts, to create fear, self-doubt, or bitterness, surrender their power to circumstance. In contrast, those who deliberately cultivate mental discipline and focus can harness the same experiences, using them as fuel to drive persistence, creativity, and success. The process begins with conscious control of thought, the recognition that while one cannot always prevent adversity, one can choose the response. Controlling the mind requires awareness and intention. Pain often triggers powerful emotions: anger, sadness, fear, and frustration, which, if left unchecked, can cloud judgment and immobilize action. An undisciplined mind reacts impulsively, allowing temporary discomfort to dictate long-term behavior. However, a trained mind observes the emotional response without succumbing to it. It evaluates the circumstances, identifies the lessons within the struggle, and determines the most constructive course of action. This mental clarity is essential because power is generated not by the absence of hardship, but by the ability to respond to it effectively. Through reflection and deliberate thought, an individual transforms emotional energy into strategic energy, converting the raw intensity of pain into focused determination. A crucial aspect of harnessing the mind is the practice of reframing. Every painful situation contains multiple perspectives, and the perspective one chooses dictates the outcome. One can perceive failure as an insurmountable setback, or as a temporary obstacle offering insight and growth. One can view criticism as an attack on character, or as an opportunity to refine skills and strengthen resolve. This act of reframing transforms the meaning of pain, altering the emotional response and enabling productive action. By consciously shifting perception, individuals convert discouragement into motivation, weakness into resilience, and limitation into opportunity. It is through this mental alchemy that suffering ceases to be a source of defeat and instead becomes a resource for power and achievement. Visualization and mental conditioning further amplify the mind's capacity to transform adversity. By imagining desired outcomes and rehearsing responses to challenges, individuals prepare themselves to act decisively when difficulties arise. The mind, when trained to anticipate and solve problems, channels the energy of pain toward creative solutions rather than destructive patterns. This mental rehearsal strengthens confidence, reduces hesitation, and allows a person to navigate obstacles with clarity and purpose. Pain becomes not a paralyzing force but a signal, a call to action, and a reminder to leverage inner resources with focus and intentionality. Mental discipline also involves cultivating resilience through repeated exposure to challenges. Each experience of difficulty, when approached with awareness and strategic thought, strengthens the ability to remain composed under pressure. The mind learns that suffering is temporary, that obstacles can be overcome, and that setbacks do not define ultimate outcomes. This internalized belief fosters a sense of mastery over circumstance, a recognition that external events are not inherently controlling, but are subject to interpretation and response. As the mind develops this confidence, the individual becomes increasingly capable of converting adversity into motivation, turning hesitation into decisive action, and transforming fear into a driving force for success. Equally important is the role of self-talk and the internal narrative. The words one uses to interpret experiences shape emotions and behavior profoundly. A mind that constantly dwells on negativity magnifies suffering, while a mind that consciously cultivates constructive thought patterns converts hardship into a tool for growth. Affirmation, reflection, and disciplined reasoning reinforce the understanding that every challenge contains potential for learning. Every failure contains seeds of improvement, and every setback contains an opportunity for strategic advancement. In this way, the mind becomes an engine of power, transforming the raw energy of pain into sustained effort, insightful action, and measurable achievement. Ultimately, the mind's capacity to turn pain into power underscores the principle that control over one's thoughts is the greatest determinant of success. Pain need not weaken, it can strengthen. Hardship need not paralyze, it can propel. By directing thought, reframing experience, rehearsing responses, and cultivating resilient mental patterns, an individual converts what might have been a source of limitation into a source of unparalleled strength. Through mastery of the mind, suffering ceases to be a burden and becomes an essential ingredient in the creation of extraordinary personal power, achievement, and lasting fulfillment. Resilience is not a trait we are born with. It is a quality developed and strengthened through deliberate engagement with life's challenges. Every obstacle, every setback, every moment of adversity is an opportunity to cultivate a form of inner strength that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Those who rise from difficulty with renewed determination do so because they have learned to endure hardship without surrendering their purpose or vision. True resilience involves more than merely surviving adversity. It is the ability to adapt, recover, and grow stronger as a result of facing difficulty. Each time an individual confronts a challenge and chooses to continue moving forward, the foundations of resilience are reinforced, creating an inner fortitude that shapes character and defines potential. Adversity exposes the limits of patience, courage, and perseverance. When life presents obstacles, it tests the strength of one's commitment to goals and values. It is in these moments of testing that resilience is forged. A resilient individual does not ignore pain, nor do they deny its impact. Instead, they confront it head-on, analyzing the situation, assessing options, and choosing a path of constructive action. This deliberate response transforms what could be a paralyzing experience into a dynamic opportunity for growth. Over time, repeated engagement with challenges builds a mental and emotional elasticity that enables the individual to bend under pressure without breaking, to face uncertainty without fear, and to approach future difficulties with confidence rather than apprehension. Resilience also involves learning to maintain focus on long-term objectives despite immediate setbacks. Life's challenges are often unpredictable and inconvenient, but the resilient individual understands that temporary failures do not dictate ultimate outcomes. By keeping their vision clear and their commitment unwavering, they harness difficulties as a source of strength rather than as a distraction. Each setback becomes a lesson in endurance, teaching patience, adaptability, and the importance of strategic thinking. In this way, resilience is not simply about enduring hardship, it is about using the experience to refine judgment, enhance capability, and fortify determination. The cultivation of resilience requires embracing discomfort rather than avoiding it. Comfort can lull the mind into complacency, but adversity forces engagement, reflection, and action. When individuals allow themselves to confront challenges fully, they discover capacities they were previously unaware of, capacities for problem-solving, creativity, and emotional regulation. Resilient individuals recognize that every trial carries potential insight, and that mastery over circumstance begins with mastery over oneself. By consistently choosing growth over avoidance, they convert obstacles into stepping stones, transforming hardship into a source of empowerment. Another essential aspect of resilience is the development of perspective. Those who cultivate resilience learn to view challenges in context, understanding that setbacks are temporary and often necessary for personal evolution. Pain and difficulty are reframed not as punitive forces, but as instructive experiences that illuminate strengths, reveal weaknesses, and provide opportunities for strategic improvement. This perspective reduces fear and anxiety, allowing the individual to approach obstacles with a sense of curiosity and determination rather than defeat. It also fosters humility and empathy, qualities that further enhance personal growth and the ability to inspire and lead others through their own challenges. Resilience is strengthened through action. Reflection alone is insufficient. It must be accompanied by deliberate steps to address challenges and overcome obstacles. Each small success, each decision to persevere despite difficulty, compounds over time, creating a cumulative effect that builds an unshakable confidence in one's abilities. The resilient individual does not wait for external circumstances to improve. They actively shape their responses, learning to navigate uncertainty, adapt to change, and recover from setbacks with composure and intelligence. This proactive approach turns potential weakness into strength, transforming adversity from a source of limitation into a tool for empowerment. Ultimately, resilience is the inner engine that enables individuals to transform suffering into power. It allows one to maintain momentum when circumstances are unfavorable, to convert obstacles into learning experiences, and to develop a depth of character that cannot be undermined by external events. Those who cultivate resilience become architects of their own destiny, using life's challenges not as deterrents but as instruments to build strength, enhance capability, and achieve lasting success. Through repeated engagement with difficulty, they discover that resilience is not merely a response to adversity, but a dynamic force that shapes potential, drives achievement, and empowers the human spirit to rise above any circumstance. Purpose is the guiding force that gives meaning to struggle and transforms adversity into a powerful catalyst for achievement. Without purpose, pain can feel arbitrary, overwhelming, and ultimately discouraging. When difficulties arise without a clear sense of direction, it is easy to become trapped in frustration, despair, or apathy. However, when a person aligns their suffering with meaningful objectives, the very hardships that once seemed debilitating become a source of energy and motivation. Purpose provides a lens through which challenges are not merely endured but understood, revealing their significance in the broader context of personal growth and long-term success. It is the clarity of vision that converts temporary setbacks into stepping stones toward a higher goal. Pain and adversity are often the greatest indicators of where purpose is most needed. When life confronts an individual with obstacles, it highlights areas where passion, commitment, and determination must be applied. Struggles illuminate gaps in knowledge, skill, or character, creating an opportunity to redirect effort in ways that are purposeful and intentional. Those who recognize this principle understand that suffering is not a hindrance to progress, but a natural signal prompting reflection and action. By identifying what truly matters and why it matters, individuals can harness the discomfort of hardship to strengthen their resolve, clarify priorities, and take deliberate steps toward fulfilling their objectives. Purpose transforms endurance into intentional effort. It is one thing to withstand difficulty through sheer willpower. It is another to channel the energy of suffering toward meaningful outcomes. When pain is connected to a goal that holds deep personal significance, it fuels persistence, focus, and creativity. Individuals with purpose are motivated to explore solutions, innovate strategies, and persist in the face of repeated setbacks. Their actions are not random or reactive, they are strategic and goal-oriented. Each obstacle becomes a lesson, each failure an opportunity to refine approach, and each challenge a test of commitment that strengthens both skill and character. In this way, purpose acts as a compass, directing the energy of struggle toward productive and empowering outcomes. The pursuit of purpose also cultivates resilience. When hardships are aligned with meaningful objectives, they are endured not out of mere obligation, but out of commitment to a vision larger than the immediate discomfort. This alignment fosters mental and emotional strength, allowing individuals to navigate setbacks without losing sight of long-term goals. Purpose provides the motivation to continue when circumstances are difficult, to maintain optimism when progress is slow, and to persevere even when success is not immediately visible. By giving struggle a deeper meaning, purpose transforms ordinary endurance into extraordinary determination. Furthermore, purpose enhances the capacity for learning and growth. Individuals who face adversity with a clear goal are more likely to extract insights from their experiences, analyze their failures objectively, and adapt strategies for improved outcomes. Every challenge is approached with curiosity and intentionality rather than fear or avoidance. This mindset transforms obstacles into teachers, allowing lessons to be internalized and applied to future situations. The alignment of purpose with struggle ensures that suffering is not wasted, but converted into actionable knowledge and strengthened capability, making each experience a building block in the architecture of achievement. Purpose also inspires others and multiplies impact. Individuals who demonstrate a clear vision and unwavering commitment despite hardship often become a source of motivation for those around them. Their ability to convert struggle into meaningful progress sets an example, showing that pain need not be a limitation, but a tool for growth. By pursuing purpose in the midst of adversity, one not only strengthens personal resolve, but also influences the environment positively, creating a ripple effect of determination, innovation, and achievement. Ultimately, aligning struggle with purpose transforms adversity from a source of limitation into a source of empowerment. Purpose provides clarity, focus, and motivation, converting pain into action and setbacks into opportunities for growth. When individuals face difficulties with intentionality, guided by a vision that transcends immediate discomfort, they turn their hardships into fuel for resilience, innovation, and success. Through purpose, suffering becomes meaningful, challenges become transformative, and the energy of struggle becomes a powerful engine driving toward the fulfillment of one's highest potential. The energy of suffering is a resource of immense potential, often overlooked by those who experience pain without reflection or purpose. Every moment of hardship carries within it a form of energy, emotional, mental, and even physical, that, when properly harnessed, can be transformed into power, creativity, and achievement. Pain is not merely a passive force that diminishes, it is active, dynamic, and capable of fueling extraordinary personal growth. The individual who learns to recognize this energy, to direct it with intention, and to convert it into constructive action gains access to a source of strength that surpasses ordinary motivation. It is through conscious engagement with suffering that vulnerability is transformed into capability, and challenge is transformed into opportunity. Emotional pain, when understood, becomes a driver of action. Feelings of anger, disappointment, Frustration or sadness are natural responses to adversity, but they are also forms of energy that, if left unmanaged, can consume and paralyze. By contrast, a person who channels these emotions into deliberate effort converts them into determination, focus, and resilience. Anger can be transformed into assertive action, frustration into problem-solving energy, and sadness into empathy and creative expression. In this way, the raw intensity of emotion becomes a tool rather than a burden, providing momentum to pursue goals with greater vigor and clarity. The energy of suffering, therefore, is not destructive by nature. It is simply unrefined potential waiting to be shaped by conscious effort. Pain also stimulates innovation and creativity. When familiar methods fail or circumstances impose limits, the individual is compelled to explore new ideas, approaches, and solutions. Challenges spark curiosity and problem-solving, prompting the mind to think beyond conventional boundaries. In moments of adversity, the urgency to overcome obstacles often leads to breakthroughs that would not have emerged in times of comfort. The energy of suffering becomes a catalyst for ingenuity, driving individuals to innovate in ways that elevate their capabilities and expand their potential. Each obstacle is no longer merely a test, but a prompt to explore untapped resources, to experiment with new strategies, and to grow in competence and confidence. Harnessing the energy of suffering also strengthens mental and emotional resilience. Every encounter with hardship requires adaptation, reflection, and the development of coping strategies. When these experiences are consciously converted into learning and action, the individual builds a mental and emotional framework that is increasingly capable of withstanding future challenges. The energy derived from suffering reinforces persistence, fortifies confidence, and nurtures an unshakable sense of self-mastery. Over time, individuals who consistently channel their adversity develop an inner reservoir of strength that enables them to face difficulties with composure, clarity, and determination. Moreover, the energy of suffering fuels ambition and goal-directed effort. Those who recognize the value in their struggles are motivated to set higher standards, pursue more challenging objectives, and strive for excellence. Pain becomes a measure of intensity, a reminder of what is at stake, and a source of urgency that propels deliberate, focused action. Rather than allowing discomfort to limit effort, it becomes a driving force, encouraging persistence, discipline, and unwavering commitment. The individual who masters this transformation discovers that the very experiences that might have broken others become the foundation of extraordinary achievement. The energy of suffering also enhances personal growth through reflection and insight. Pain encourages deep introspection, prompting individuals to examine their beliefs, choices, and behaviors. This self-awareness reveals opportunities for improvement, areas of untapped potential, and strategies for more effective action. By intentionally directing the energy of these insights toward development, the individual cultivates wisdom, skill, and emotional intelligence. Suffering, when harnessed, becomes a teacher, a guide, and a source of strategic insight that informs every decision and action moving forward. Finally, transforming the energy of suffering requires intentionality and discipline. It is not enough to experience hardship. One must actively choose to convert it into power. This requires focus, reflection, and purposeful action. The individual must recognize the potential in every challenge, redirect emotional intensity toward productive outcomes, and commit to growth despite discomfort. When accomplished, the result is a remarkable transformation. What was once vulnerability becomes capability. What was once limitation becomes opportunity. And what was once pain becomes a driving force for achievement, creativity, and resilience. In essence, the energy of suffering is a latent force that, when consciously harnessed, becomes one of the most powerful instruments for personal transformation. It enables individuals to convert emotional, mental, and physical challenges into motivation, innovation, resilience, and purposeful action. By channeling the raw power of hardship into constructive energy, the individual transforms every obstacle into a stepping stone, every setback into a lesson, and every moment of pain into a source of extraordinary strength, creating a life fueled not by comfort, but by the mastery of adversity and the conscious conversion of suffering into power.